Welcome back, everybody. This is Eric here with Iraq Veteran 8888. We got some more 2A news for you, and this one comes from John Crump's desk at Ammo Land. I saw this one come across my desk, and I'm like, wow, yeah, we have to do a read about this because this is just crazy. This gives you a really good idea of how crazy things are going in our country right now. The title of this article is, "The ATF Warns Texas FFLs About Dangerous Cartel Activity in the Next 60 Days." That's a rather odd thing to come out of the ATF. So we're going to break this down and discuss it and give you an idea of what's going on here. Before we get started, I would like to thank our friends at Sonoran Desert Institute for supporting our videos. If you are looking for a career in the gun industry and you want to get into gunsmithing, they are definitely your go-to source for distance learning. They got some awesome instructors, great curriculum, wonderful distance learning opportunities. They also have a great drone program. You can learn about reloading, gunsmithing, tons of things on the business side. Definitely your go-to group of people. So if you want to jumpstart your career in the gunsmithing world, check out Sonoran Desert Institute, SDI, at the link down below. Tell them we sent you. They've been a long-term supporter of our channel, and a big thanks to SDI for always having our back. Okay, let's get into this. John Crump, my man John Crump. Federal firearms licensees in Texas are receiving emails and phone calls from the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives warning of people trying to acquire .50 caliber rifles and belt-fed firearms. The ATF started emailing and placing calls to gun dealers in the Dallas and Houston areas, warning about attempts by straw purchasers to acquire high-powered weapons. According to one recorded phone call, the ATF believes that the cartels are behind the straw purchases and are gearing up for something over the next 60 days. The ATF agent did not give any specifics as to exactly what the cartels were planning. The email reads, "Law enforcement is advising federal firearms licensees or expanding interests of criminal networks' intention to utilize straw purchasers in acquiring large caliber firearms such as .50 caliber and or belt-fed rifles within the next 60 days. This activity is anticipated to occur throughout the entire state of Texas. Please contact your local ATF office if any suspicious, attempted, or finalized purchases occur." And of course, here's a copy of the email, which we'll show you here. The warning extends to all of Texas. The ATF asks any dealer to contact them immediately if there are any suspicious purchases. The ATF is playing their cards close to their chest. It is unclear if the mentioned cartel action expected in the United States or is expected in the United States or south of Mexico's border. The circle of trust. The situation reminds a lot of Texas FFLs of the Obama-era Fast and Furious gun walking scandal. Former Attorney General Eric Holder authorized the sale of guns to the cartels in that operation. The idea was to track the weapons back to Mexico, but the Department of Justice lost track of the firearms. Cartels soon turned the guns on U.S. Customs and Border Patrol agents, causing one officer working the border to lose his life. That's right. A gun-running operation by Eric Holder and Barack Obama caused a U.S. Border Patrol agent to perish. U.S. Border Patrol agent Brian Terry was pursuing a group of armed robbers near the Nogales border when a man named Hiraquilo, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that name. It's a complicated Spanish name, and I'm a redneck, and I don't know how to say it, so I'm just going to put it here on the screen, and you can figure it out. He pulled out a firearm and fired at the agents. A bullet would strike Terry, killing him. How unfortunate. Mr. Terry was a Michigan native who always wanted to be a cop. He joined the Marines and then became a police officer. Terry felt that he could help more people by joining the Border Patrol. He excelled at his job and soon would be assigned to the Border Patrol's elite unit that deals with the most dangerous situations. The bullet that killed Terry was fired from a gun that the DOJ and the ATF let the cartels acquire through the Fast and Furious scandal. Since the U.S. government has a history of using FFLs to arm the cartels, many FFLs in the Lone Star State are wary of helping the embattled Bureau. Right now, there's a lack of trust between gun stores and what they see as hostile entities trying to shut down their livelihood. Some FFLs express concerns about the ATF targeting their gun shops if they do report a suspicious sale. The ATF and the Biden administration enacted a zero-tolerance policy, which has seen FFL revocations hit record levels. Right now, there is a trust issue between FFLs and gun shops. Instead of being a partner in the industry, under President Joe Biden, the ATF has taken an adversarial role. These conflicts hurt the ATF's chances of stopping crime and strengthening the Mexican cartels. AmmoLand has asked the ATF to comment on the story. However, the Bureau did not respond to their request. Good reporting, Crump. Very good reporting. And he's absolutely right. Why in the world would you, as an FFL, want to try and work with these people in any way when they're just going to use it as some excuse to try to shut you down, or there's going to be some de facto backdoor quid pro quo. I can't talk today. But if there's going to be some, changing of the situation at their very whim and wish, and there's going to be some de facto law that they're just going to come out of the nether with, well, why in the world would you ever want to support people like that when you know the whole reason is to try to shut you down somehow? It doesn't garner an environment of mutual support, okay? And that's just the bottom line with this whole thing. The ATF is certainly chasing phantoms. And the question is, are these phantoms their very own people? I mean, are they going to start sending their own agents in to pose as straw purchasers to try and, elicit some, response out of the gun store in question, right? They could send in a plainclothes officer to just try and commit a straw purchase. Oh, I'm going to go buy a Barrett or something, and let's see if they say anything about it. Oh, and I'm going to make sure they look extra suspicious or something. So that is of a concern. I noticed that there was some, I think, 170-acre island in the middle of the Rio Grande that we recently took control of that was under cartel control for some time or something. I had read about that recently, like yesterday. So it's really interesting to think that, is there some crazy backhanded, underfooted little war going on between everybody and they're trying to keep it hush-hush? Is there something that they have some intelligence on that they're not, privy to report to us yet, that they know something's about to happen? Maybe they've gotten some type of a warning or a threat or something. Who knows? When you're dealing with these kind of people, you can't ever take anything for granted, right? If it seems like it's messed up, it's probably messed up. I mean, obviously what the ATF is always giving people in terms of guidance when you're running a gun store is you don't have to sell a firearm to anybody for any reason. If you feel like it feels weird and you don't want to complete the sale, you don't want to go through the transaction, you don't have to. But at the same time, there's a danger there in thinking that, well, a person that runs a gun store, they're not law enforcement. They're not expected to carry out some, all-engrossing, law enforcement endeavor that involves some gun running operation, right? Their job is to simply sell the firearm. I mean, you do the 4473. Okay, so what happens if somebody walks in? Okay, maybe they look a little rough, but hey, they've got the right ID, everything's in place, their driver's license matches where they live, they fill out the form correctly, they pass the background check, and they acquire the gun. Well, then they go on to do something bad with it. Well, what does that have to do with the FFL? I mean, if you know anything about 50 cals, okay, selling a Barrett or an Armalite AR-50 or one of the HM Defense 50 cals or something like that. Look, selling a 50 is a big deal. If you work at a gun store, most gun stores, okay, if you do have a 50 in stock and someone wants to come in and buy it, it's usually a big deal, right? I remember, I think in the entire time that I worked as a gun store employee, I think I sold 150. And it's a big deal because, you sell a Barrett and it's $12,000. That's a big sale. That's a big deal when you sell a 50, especially if they want to buy a bunch of ammo. So it's not every day that someone comes into a gun store and buys a Beltfed or a 50 or something like that. So I don't really understand their line of questioning. I mean, that's not a common thing to occur as it is already. But then they're saying, well, if someone comes in and basically what they're telling you is if you sell a Beltfed or a 50, it's probably going to be to someone that they don't want you to sell it to. But again, how are you supposed to know that? What are the standards there? Are you supposed to call up the ATF and say, hey, there's a person here to buy 50, you should come talk to him? And then what? Get your FFL revocated, get your FFL taken away? Or do you just complete the sale and go, well, let's hope that the person I'm selling this 50 to isn't a prohibited person, even though they passed a dang background check, right? I mean, you obviously aren't going to let a gun leave that is okay to leave. If they pass all the checks and everything's good, well, a 50 transfers like a rifle. A Beltfed transfers like a rifle. It's a rifle. So again, what they're trying to do is poke the bear. They're trying to say, well, if you sell a Beltfed or a 50 in the next 2 months, we're probably going to come have a talk to you. So they're really strong-arming the FFLs to avoid selling those types of things. If someone comes in and they're inquiring about it, those gun store employees are probably going to be a little bit more standoffish, be like, you know what, maybe we just need to try and, talk him out of buying this or something. And that's a shame, right? That it gets in the way of average commerce between, consumer and gun store, which, is terrible. But we're going to be monitoring this and keeping an eye on it. And, of course, great reporting there on John Crump's part. Definitely make sure you're following Ammo Land. Great group of people. They've always got some good stuff to put out. We have many more 2A updates on the way. I usually like to share a lot of articles from all around the place and kind of comment on it and give my 2 cents. I also have more op-eds of my own that I'm writing on my Substack, so I'll have some more of those coming up soon. Those seem to be pretty popular. But thank you so much for watching today. I hope you all had a wonderful day, wonderful week. We have much more content on the way. I really appreciate y'all, and we'll see you soon.